Welcome to another exciting episode of the H3O podcast. In today's episode, we sit down with Gabriel Saindon from Ivory Holsters. We talk a little bit about how Gabriel emerged into the market of holsters, how he customizes holsters to fit your pack so that you have a better ride and a better fit for your sidearm with your pack in the field. And then we take a little bit of a turn into a first look at what we call our storytelling series, where we share experiences that we've had in the field with our friends on some of our hunts. And it's a fun episode as we discuss and share our love of the outdoors together. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and we appreciate you tuning in.
Roll.
Three, two, one. Hello and welcome. We're back at the H3O podcast. I am
headquarters. We're at the
headquarters. Headquarters. I'm Joel Rather, and I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Mr. Jason Hirsch.
Hi.
Greetings.
Greetings.
And today we are super excited because we have Gabe here from Ivory Holsters.
Thanks for having me.
And so it's cool that you are the first in-house that we've had, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Let me make a small adjustment here.
There we go. Make sure the mic's in.
Good. I don't want to give the mic coronavirus.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we're
So you gotta talk to the front of the mic.
yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
When we did
Yeah.
Cool.
Jason wore the Arrow wool buff when we did the Phelps one and for the first 12 seconds.
Yeah, that was about as much as I could handle.
Yeah. So anyhow, well, to kick things off today, I think what we're going to do is we talked a little bit about telling some stories today.
Yeah.
Which should be fun. But I want to start with a little bit of business because I want folks to know more about what you do, more about Ivory Holsters and your company. Talk a little bit about, how how in the world did you get into that business? Mm-hmm. And, just let people know kind of your progression, because we actually came upon Ivory through our podcast we did with EXO and with Mark.
Cool.
And so it's an interesting circle. And now, fortunately for us, like we've actually been able to, you've come over, we've shot together, and it's crazy how small the world is sometimes. And so it's kind of fun to add someone else into, our circle, which, hopefully will continue to foster new stuff. And I know we're going to get you to make us some holsters too, which is going to be cool. So let's start there. What, how in the world did you get into making holsters?
First, just thanks for having me. I'm super humbled. This is awesome. And to be the first dude like in a house interview, I'm like jacked
We're gonna
about
have
it.
to get people like sign a wall or something around here.
Right?
That would be cool.
A wall of fame.
I'd be the first dude to sign.
Or get like
I
an arrow and like stick it into the wall or something.
Right?
I like
Sweet.
it. Yeah.
Short range, just like
Yeah.
Right.
the room would get small fast.
Yeah.
So go
I'd
ahead.
probably miss a target anyway.
Yeah.
So bottom line with Ivory, I started kind of as a hobby. I needed a holster for a pistol I was carrying, like concealed carry at the time. There was a company online that used to sell, they'd sell it in parts where you could put it together yourself. They'd sell it
Right.
A whole one or whatever. Well, I got online and the guy had a video on, essentially, like if you bought it in a couple of different parts, he had a video on how to form the Kydex to your gun using your kitchen oven and all kinds of cool stuff like that. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. So I ended up picking one that was already made. I picked up one that was already made, and then I got a different gun. And so I wanted to reform it. And so now I have my like 260-pound friend over with like a yoga mat, and we're like heating this piece of Kydex up with a heat gun. And now I got him pressing on it, sitting on the table, trying to form it to a new gun. It was kind of cool. And so anyway, bottom line, I just kind of learned through YouTube and a bunch of really good dudes on YouTube on how to. I mean, you can learn anything there, right? So
Sure.
So got proficient at it to the point where started making them for friends and myself, and then started selling them a little bit, and the product went from not so great to what it is today. Which if I'm on, I think it's pretty great.
Yeah.
But it's cool because I've always felt like I needed to. Like I was called to some sort of business. Like I didn't know if it was going to be a restaurant or
Sure.
liquor store or bake shop or something like that. But I always wanted to, be in business for myself. And so this is kind of my wheelhouse, right? Like elk hunting is my absolute passion. So it's cool that I get to be kind of, quote, in that industry. And so to your point with Mark from EXO, I emailed Mark one day and said, hey, look, all I want is some feedback. I want to send you a holster. I don't have one of your packs at the moment. but I need to, some feedback on what fits best, what, just anything you can give me. And I don't want any, I was real clear. I don't want any kind of social media push. I don't want any kind of free product. All I want is your feedback because, again, I don't have your pack. And so the guy was super great and gracious.
Yeah, Mark's awesome.
Awesome dude. So we sent 2 versions out to him, made some adjustments. I think 4 versions total later. We had what we have right now, and it's just like perfect for being able to mount to the hip belt of your hunting pack. And so that's kind of my wheelhouse now. I would say probably a good 95% of the sales for Ivory are from backcountry hunters, like all around the country. It's kind of amazing how many guys don't live in like on the Rockies and still are picking them up out of like New York and Florida and stuff like that. It's amazing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just been really good. Yeah, picked up from there.
So I think the interesting thing with that is like when we kind of caught wind of you and then Jason and I both have exo packs, and we started kind of immediately going like, oh well, we got to call him right away, because like I know that the first time that I put my holster or my Kydex, and I honestly I couldn't even tell you what brand it is. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right. I just bought one that fit my pistol, and I'm like, all right. And obviously
you bought it more out of necessity than
right
quality or even
exactly
fit or finish or anything like that.
Right. And as far as like the holster itself, it fits the gun fine, right? Like, I don't think that's a huge, earth-shattering, development. But when I tried to connect it or put it onto my pack, like the fit and the ride and all that stuff just it's not that great.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, that's why I was like, we need to reach out to him right away.
Yeah,
because
I'm stoked to get
and you're local, right? You're
right, for sure.
10 minutes from here.
Yeah, that's why we went with the Colorado-based H3O today. Just
love it.
Like themed for the day. So.
I love it. That's cool. Yeah, I'm not too far north of you guys in Brighton.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I gotta hit up the local guys. Now, when you were starting the business, where does Ivory Holsters come from?
So I had a buddy. It was me and a buddy that started it, and then later on his heart just wasn't in it, and so we kind of split, and nothing, like he's still my best friend, but we wanted something that wasn't over the top, like masculine, where it was, we didn't want to not sell to women as well, right? And at the time it wasn't, we weren't building it for like the backcountry hunter initially, so we didn't want it to be like Black Mamba Tactical or something like that. So
that'd be sweet.
Right, it would be cool.
I'd totally buy that.
Testosterone driven.
Yeah, it's not exactly.
Can we have a Black Mamba line?
We wanted it. We could make a Black Mamba line, but we won't.
So hat tip to Kobe right there.
We got so we're just like pondering, and both of us are into elk hunting. We've been elk hunting together for quite a while, and it just he actually just blurted it out. How about Ivory? Meaning like the elk. Obviously they have the 2 buglers, the ivory teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And that resonated big time. And then you think about like that's I love elk hunting, and so big like nice white ivory tips on the rack. It's just beautiful. So ivory just kind of sit perfectly. And then I've got another buddy that was he's a really decent artist, and I kind of sent him a picture of actually it was a different logo, another holster company actually. I said this guy's got this. I want it to be similar. And that's how he came out with the very sharp angled like elk. The elk's name is Edgar, by the way.
Edgar the elk.
Right. Okay. So the logo is just awesome too. We got real lucky. Buddy, I got a lot of buddies that have just done a ton of work for me. Some in graphic design, some are real good at sketches, stuff like that. So just I've been real blessed to have the right people around me to kind of build this thing the way it has been.
So you crowdsourced it. You crowdsourced the company.
I did. Every aspect of it, for sure.
But you're the only employee, so that's awesome.
I am.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's good.
So now in terms of starting up, like, so how long now, like you kind of mentioned a little bit, learned, evolved, the product's obviously a lot better today than when you start. Like,
oh, for sure.
I know for me personally, on the training side, like I went through that same developmental process. Like we have a sandbag line, and I kind of did all that too, where it's like you go through, you kind of build it how you think, and then you vet it, and you kind of figure out like, I kind of wish it functional different, or I wish it felt different or whatever. Like, where are you at today in that process? Are you on iteration 2, 3? Like how far down the road are you now?
So I say it's initially when we thought it was perfect, there's always something that somebody else wants, right? So
Sure.
the first 3 versions that went to Mark, we changed up a clip style. We changed up a couple of things. We ended up going with a forward cant as opposed to like a straight draw, so it kind of presents itself to your hand, so it's easier to draw and quicker to draw. One of the things I was real big on was covering the slide. So that was probably about four iterations in with those clips. The clips we used initially were too long. And so when you were drawing, the holster would actually have to pull up on the belt webbing and then bottom out before the gun would release from it. And so we wanted to fix that.
Which
so
is what mine does.
Yeah. So right. I mean, it's purpose built for something else, right? So,
Sure.
So after all of that feedback from Mark and myself and just the way we kind of hunt, we came up with the I guess the 1.0 version of what we're selling now, and I say it's really 2.0. It's like 1.25 version right now because all it is was a change in clip. So the shell is the same, the forward cant is the same. It's got a pre-curved. It's molded to like a 90-10 split. So I should have brought one. The outside of the holster is about 80% of the definition. The underside that goes against the hip belt, or if you're wearing it on your regular belt too, is about 10% or 20%. So it's about as flat as it can be against the body, so it's super comfortable. You're not getting a bunch of tension and pressure pushing into your hip,
right?
Which you wouldn't think would be that big of a deal with 3/4 of an inch of padding on your hip belt. But I've had guys tell me that some of those holsters that are built with a 50-50 split, it actually really kind of torques after a while, even through that hip belt. So all of those different little things. The 1.25 version is just very simply that we switched over to a clip that just came out, same plastic. I should have said polymer. That's much more.
Yeah,
but it's the
same
same plastic, right? But it's got a spacer in it that allows you to go from a 1.5 inch belt all the way to a 2 1/4 inch belt, which is awesome because obviously on the XO K2 you got a 1.5 inch belt, and on the K3 version, the one they came out with recently, is the 2.0 version, so it's got 2 inches. So you can adjust if you have, and whatever. If you had a different pack, you could put it on a different pack.
Yeah, that was my next question I was going to ask. It's like, obviously, from a business perspective, the smart thing is to make sure that it's multi-dimensional and not, unless you get something, really exclusive in place where it'd be profitable enough for you to do so. It makes sense that, you'd want it to fit, a Kafaru or a Mystery Ranch or a whatever, right? Like, is that so I'm assuming in saying that they're capable of that as well, right?
Yeah. So there's 2 clip options right now. The one is the one that's adjustable from 1.5 to 2, actually 2.25. The ones for like Kafaru and some of the other, like Stone Glacier uses a different, like almost like a Molly style webbing, and so those take the 3-inch clips. It's a Malice style clip, and so it's super strong and durable, but it's a little bit more flexible, and it's a bit more of a pain to get off than the XO clips. The cool thing about the new clip is that instead of the old one for the, I'm going to nerd out for a second. The old one for the K3 belt was really thin, so you could really only put it ideally on like a webbing, as opposed to if you wanted to put it on your leather belt, you could do it, but it's not ideal, right? It pinches pretty good. The new clips have like a 6mm belt gap on them, so it's perfect. So you down your elk, you're in grizzly country, you're going to be hacking at this thing, but you drop your pack and you want to keep that on you. It's super easy to switch it from the pack onto your everyday carry belt with a very simple switch of some spacers. It clips on nice and firmly, and that way if some danger is coming close, you have it on you, as opposed to like that poor guy in Wyoming last year, the guide that got mauled by the bear.
Right.
His Glock was on his pack as he was trying to quarter the animal. It was just
too far
obviously
away.
Didn't work out. Yeah.
Sure.
So that's one of the bits of feedback that a lot of guys wanted, was something that changed from their pack to their belt. And I know a lot of guys don't wear belts when they hunt. I don't either. But
we had that conversation the other day.
Yeah, because I wear a decently thick belt, I guess.
Even when you hunt?
Even when I hunt, just because, I don't have a whole lot of clothing options. I'm a large human being, so some of the clothing options have adjustable waistbands or elastic waistbands.
Yep.
And so I have to wear a belt to keep my pants up. And even with that, they still drop down. I wear the XO belt on top of my other belt, and even that, my regular belt will slide down underneath the hip pack. part of the
Yeah.
of the exo pack. And so I always, I'm constantly making
Hiking 'em up.
adjustments, but I'm sitting there pulling things and trying to get them as tight as I possibly can.
Which
And-
also has potential for problems.
right, and
Yeah.
now I'm pinching that belt onto my hips, and now I'm losing circulation in my legs, and things are starting to hurt where they shouldn't.
It starts
hurt.
unraveling
Yeah,
quick,
it
folks.
doesn't feel
That's
great.
that's what it comes down to.
So I've honestly, for like when I pheasant hunt, because I don't wear a pack when I pheasant hunt,
Right.
I'll run suspenders, and I look like a super nerdy
You're a
like,
yokel.
version. Yeah. Oh, it looks dumb, right? But I even got like camo suspenders, so I'll wear
Nice.
those because same thing. Yeah. When I'm walking over cornrows and stuff like that, it's the belt just doesn't do it, right? So
Yeah.
I got to use the suspenders.
Yeah, I've been playing with that Sitka belt, which is really pretty small, right? And it just has that flat clip,
Yeah.
and it's only like an inch of that
Material.
ballistic nylon or whatever it's made of, which is not, it's minimal. But even in that, like I noticed, like when we were out turkey hunting last week,
Shed hunting.
that turned
Well, it's turkey hunting that turned into shed hunting.
that turned into fishing.
Yes, it turned into fishing.
It was quite a
Did you
day.
catch fish at all?
No.
No,
There were 8,000 people on the river. We were literally shoulder to shoulder with,
yeah, it was awesome.
John Q. Public, spin casting.
How many were wearing masks?
No.
Out of curiosity. Excellent.
No.
Good.
Yeah, we were fishing on the river. We don't need to wear a damn
no,
mask.
seriously,
Like,
I'm happy about that. Thank God.
Yeah, right.
it was. It's with nobody at work. Everybody's on the river.
Right.
Right.
And even that, it was a weekend, which it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Did you
So
find a
for
bunch
sure.
of dudes in the woods for like going out for turkeys too?
we had one guy that was driving up
Yeah.
off the river
We
as
saw
we were
8.
driving down, but nobody when we were hiking.
Yeah,
Got it.
probably. I mean, we saw like 8 to 10 probably vehicles that
Yeah.
were scattered variously, but like we never saw anybody once we went
Right.
back in.
People on the river were. I mean, it looked like a typical summer afternoon.
Right.
Tubers, paddle boarders,
Awesome.
canoers.
Yeah, that's great.
All using the river.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I watched him fish.
Yeah. It was not a successful fishing day, but I enjoyed throwing a line in the water. It's been a
you
while.
need it. You
Nothing
need it.
wrong with that.
That's cool.
For my soul, I needed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. So we were just talking before we started. Hunting season is not far. Like we're a week away from tag kind of.
Draw.
Yeah.
Draw.
Early June, we get to find out.
Yeah, it's like
Fingers crossed.
early Christmas. So let's talk about that. What is you guys or your group? I know you hunt with a couple of your buddies. Like, you guys plan for, or like what are you hoping for?
And tell us exactly where you go.
Yeah.
And what time of year you're going to be there.
It's odd. We're right up No Tell'em Creek, and so you can,
Tell
you can
'em. I like it.
follow me up there.
Yeah.
No, we go. We're up actually near Steamboat. For the rifle hunt, we almost always go first season. We've done a couple of second season hunts, but there's so many dudes second season because it's a
Yeah.
season where you can get a deer tag and an elk tag, so it's
Sure.
the most
Yeah.
popular season. But
Yep.
we've found that by second season, most of the elk have been pushed to the private stuff, at least in our unit.
Yeah.
So we always stick to first season. We'll get my strategy really is to try and get a cow tag for a rifle season, and that way I can get an either sex for archery.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's what I do too.
The tough thing is that I've got, I think it's 7 or 8 elk points right now. And so the division did something a while ago where it used to be you could put in for a point, and if you drew your first choice tag in a unit that didn't require points, you could keep your points. Well, they switched it now. So if you draw your first choice in any unit, even if it didn't require you to have points, they burn all your points. So for me, if I put in for a cow tag for first rifle in my unit, which does not require points, and it's my first choice, they take all my points and they're gone. So I essentially have to keep, if I want to keep those, I got to keep putting in for a point first,
Right.
then my cow tag,
Yep.
Yep.
then a bull tag. And sometimes
Yeah.
it works out where I got, like last year it worked out where I got my second choice, I got the cow tag, which was great. But the 2 previous years I ended up drawing a bull tag, and so that means for archery season I can only hunt for cows. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So-
how it's been for me. The unit I go into doesn't have bull tags, and so, but it's an A unit. It's classified as an A unit.
Really?
So, I can only get a cow tag in there, and as an A tag, that means I can't get an either sex or a bull tag for archery because
Right.
you're only allowed to carry one A tag.
That's
Yeah. So now I'm not hunting that
Is
unit.
it that good?
No.
Are there cows everywhere?
No. I've been in that unit that we were in. This is down near Montrose. 3 years, and I think we've taken one animal in 3 years down there.
So you switched it up this year?
So this year I'm not. I'm planning on dedicating all of my time to archery.
Nice.
So I'm.
As it should be.
I'm putting
As
it
it should
is.
be.
So I'm basically going to get an either sex for archery, and then if I don't get anything during archery, I'll just go get an over-the-counter cow tag and go find an over-the-counter unit somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Are you strictly archery?
No, I'm literally mirroring the same plan. Him and I we've sat down and like mapped this out.
Right.
I mean,
There's
we
like
did.
lines of code in
we-
the Matrix.
Yeah,
No,
we go hunted. we go hunted it a little bit. We looked at all the statistics and all that stuff.
we're taking a little bit of a risk this year.
Yeah.
There's the unit that we put in for has a high percentage draw rate with no points, and a like 100% draw rate with like 1 point. So we both put in with 0 points,
This
hoping
is
that for archery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that we were hoping that we both get that high percentage draw, so we can both hunt.
Yeah.
So it's not an over-the-counter unit for archery.
No.
No, but well, yes, it technically can be.
So like for my unit, we would literally drive past a Walmart on the way up to hunting camp, pick up a
Buy a
tag.
tag,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you do that or no? You have
No.
To, you have to
No,
draw?
not in this one.
Oh, okay.
But you can apply with 0 points.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's a very
I think
high
it's like about
percentage.
75%.
It was like
Awesome.
75%.
And we've
chance.
and the reason that we went that route is so Darby, who is with us in our hunting party, he did a trip last year over Labor Day weekend just to go kind of scout, and just because he lives in Nebraska.
You have some history in this unit, though, right?
Oh yeah, lots of history.
Yeah. Maybe we can get to that story.
Yeah, well we
Let
can.
me talk about
I
elk
wanna
stories.
jump right into
Yeah.
this. Have you killed stuff there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, my first elk I ever killed, I killed in that unit.
Bow, rifle?
Rifle.
Awesome.
And it was actually a double up. So Darby and I both killed a bull at the same time. So we had found two. There was 2 cows and two bulls, and it was interesting. There was some old boys that are in our camp, and we'd come back from glassing in the morning, and we were going to kind of regroup and make an afternoon play, and it's mid-morning or something like that, and we come back, and we had some kind of old crusty dudes that are in our camp that they kind of would go out to a perch and sit there, and you know, they would just hang out all day.
Yep.
And we get back, and they were back there having coffee, and they're like, we saw these 4, you know, there's a pair out there on the ridge, and we're like looking at each other, and him and I both go, what, is no one going after him? We're like, what? So we literally just hop in, and he has an Arctic cat.
These are your buddies? Like you
Yeah,
hung with these
yeah.
guys? It wasn't just some
Yeah,
rusty
no,
dudes
no,
that
no.
camp next to you. Okay.
No, they're part
Awesome.
of our camp. Yeah,
Right.
and these guys have hunted in this area for like 30 years.
And they didn't want to go after them.
And so
We'll get them later.
Yeah. So we look at each other, and we're like, all right, like, well, let's go, right?
Yeah.
And this
By
is
the way, that's a total Darby thing to do too. Like I've only hunted with Darb for a couple of years,
yeah,
and it's if you tell him something somewhere, let's go.
yeah, it's
Like,
on.
hey, how far is it? It's down. We're going.
Yeah, it's
Right.
on.
We'll go touch
Yeah.
the curtain, and then we'll come back.
Yeah,
love it.
and so anyway, so we hop in, and there's an ATV trail, and it goes kind of down, and it's gnarly. And then this ATV trail, and it's, you know, there's water and there's crooks running through it and all this other stuff. But you go through, come out of clearing, go through another set of trees, come out of clearing, head down to the bottom of this basin. And where they had seen them was up on the top of this basin, and they were filtering down into the bottom. So we go barreling through there, and I'm like literally just hanging on, right? And we go boiling all the way down. We get down to
You're
the
like a side by side?
yeah.
Darby
Awesome.
doesn't drive slow.
No, he's like, this is like, should have been fully belted in, right?
All right.
And so we get to the bottom of that thing, and we jump the creek, and then we got to like contour this hill, probably like a half to 3/4 of a mile, like just booking it. And we just put our head down, and we're like, let's just go as fast as we can. And we never stopped. And we get all the way over, and there's a little hog back, and there was a group of aspens down at the bottom. And once we get to where like we kind of hit that clearing, because it was kind of bowled out a little bit, we stop, and we're like looking, and we're like, where are they at? like they got to be here. We saw them dump into the bottom. We watched them walk down there, and we're like looking and we're glassing and everything. We're like, oh, I don't know, maybe they filtered over this way. So we start walking up over this hogback, and as soon as we get to the top, the wind blows right down through the aspens, and they were literally directly below us, and they just come filing out of the trees back up the direction we saw them come down. 4.
All bulls?
No, 2 cows, 2 bulls.
Okay.
And so
It was date night. You broke up date night.
yeah, we totally broke up date night. Yeah. And so Darby being out of state, I'm like, pick, like your tag is the pricey one here. I'm like, you pick, go. Right. And of course this is happening in a split second. Right.
I know they're on the move still.
Yeah. So they're just kind of loping. Right.
Right.
And so we get them to stop, and they kind of.
Were you calling? Did you bark at them?
I don't even remember now, to be honest with you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And so I stop and kind of look back to check out what's going on, and he just lets one rip and shoots right below it. And it's probably, I think it was around, like, I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say it was like 200 and some.
Right.
I don't even know what it was, but
500.
Yeah, 500, right. And they kind of like scare, and they start taking back uphill, and I'm thinking like, it's over, right? And they head up the hill, and they stop again. And he, of course he throws one out, shucks it back in, and he lets another one rip and just puts it right in the pump house.
Awesome.
And I'm like, yes. And of course now I'm like,
you see him drop.
oh yeah. Like
right
he does one of these and
Walk
kind
over.
of folds,
Yeah.
and like he goes down almost immediately.
So awesome.
And so then the other 3 start taking off and running downhill, and I'm like, well, game on, like now it's my turn. And so I throw it in, and I'm trying to get him to stop, and he slows down just a little bit. The other bull, as he's running downhill, let one rip, can't tell if I hit him, pull it out, go again, and like I shot like 3 times, right? And they're still just heading downhill, and I'm waiting for him basically to go through, or we just walk through. And as I'm kind of like, all right, well, why don't you go uphill and go?
So you said they were coming downhill, but after the first bull drop, they're coming towards you now?
They're coming. They're going across. They're quartering away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so I'm like, I'm running back down the hill I just came up, literally running, right? And I'm like, you
With safety off, round in the chamber.
100%. Yeah.
Safety first.
Yes, 100%.
Yep.
Got it.
And so
Proceed.
he heads uphill. I'm like, why don't you get up there, and then you can get a vantage point to see where they're at. And I run downhill, and I'm waiting, and it's kind of same thing. I'm like, where the heck do they go? Like, I never saw them. I saw one of the cows, and I never saw the other 2. And I wait for him to get all the way up to the top, because I'm thinking, like, I'm not going to screw this up, and there's nowhere for him to go. Like, where's he hiding, right? And he walks all the way around, gets all the way to the top. And once he gets to the top, he, like, radios. He's like, yeah, we're good. And I'm like, what? And I hit him, and the other bull dropped, like, right down.
Oh, so you'd already hit him. You were waiting for him to pop back out.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I couldn't
awesome.
tell that I hit him, right?
When
And
he
so-
radioed and said, hey, he's down.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Man.
And so we literally had 2 bulls down, and they're like 150 yards apart from each other.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, on day 1.
How far? Oh, but you had the quad with you, so it wasn't a horrible back out.
No, here's the beauty of it. So that ridge where they boiled over, you could drive to if you drove back down and around,
awesome.
all the way around. We ended up going driving back down, came up to the top, and we winched both of them out.
You must
And
be God's favorite son.
yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Awesome.
What he won't
Yeah.
tell you is that's the last bull he's killed.
It's all right. It only takes one.
Yeah.
It's like that
So-
smoking golf shot that you drive at like 300 yards.
Right.
You're like, all
And
right,
it
this
only
game is
takes
for
one.
me.
Yeah.
Right.
One shot out of 120, and
Yeah.
you want to come back and do it again.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Sure. That is awesome. Man.
So anyway, so we've spent a lot of time there in that unit, kind of getting back on track here, and we always had felt like every time we'd hunted there that the sign that was in there always seemed like it was probably really good in September, but we'd never archery hunted. And so Darby went up there last year, and he's like, I'm going to go check it out. And the whole weekend, he's just sending us pictures of bulls. Like,
From his cell phone,
Yeah.
So is it not
in,
even,
in
like,
his
game
like
camera
spotting
pictures?
scope.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And so he's like, I don't care. I'm burning my points next year. I'm going there. And so that was where we kind of evaluated it as far as like how it looked from our standpoint,
Yeah.
because I didn't know that I wanted to burn any of my points to do that. And we just kind of said, well, let's shoot the moon here and see what happens.
I mean,
And-
it's 75%. I mean, the odds are definitely in our favor.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, like I said, even if one of us gets it, the other one will, film the hunt and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
get a deer tag or something up in there
Yeah.
that you can fill and then
That's so awesome.
go hunt somewhere else.
Yeah, because the deer
archery
tag, I
or
think,
later.
wasn't the deer tag 100%? Like,
Yeah, I think it was. It was
so
only, it was
so
100%.
we both put in for a deer tag too, and
Cool.
yeah,
So
So-
and then you get a bear tag. I mean, we'll have
Tags
every
galore.
animal covered. That you can
Grouse.
legally shoot.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, I've got small game, so we got
Yeah.
grouse covered.
yeah,
Because I always find a grouse somewhere.
I love
One of
that.
those little mother effers pops up out of nowhere and
Yep.
scares the crap out of you. And
yeah,
I remember one trip I went, there was like 4 or 5 grouse on the ground, and I was coming back up, and I'm like, oh, look at that. And this was during rifle season, so I didn't want to like just blow a rifle around through this thing, right?
Oh, I was like, tell me you did it.
No, I didn't. But so I was like, you know what? I'm a former baseball player.
grouse
I
grenade.
picked up a rock, and I'm like, I'm just going to throw a rock at this thing and knock it out. And so the bird was on one side of the tree, and I was on the other, and we were doing like this ring around the rosy, right? I would go right, he would go left, and I would go left, he would go right, and we just started chasing each other around like, screw this, and I threw it at him, and I missed, and
Oh, I thought you were going to
he
tell me you
just
killed
walked
him.
away.
Right.
No.
That would be amazing. You should.
We
just
did
start
have a
saying
grouse,
that.
though. The very last day we were on our way out,
Yeah.
packing up all of our crap,
yeah.
and these like 3 grouse were crossing the road in front of us, and Joel's like, I got my bow, pulled it out, and he let an arrow fly, and I think he skimmed, like there were some feathers,
Yep.
but there was no bird. The bird took off,
Yeah.
and we
That's
lost
awesome.
that arrow somewhere in the.
Yeah, never found it.
You carry
Judo tip?
judo in your equipment.
Oh yeah,
We do now.
Yeah, 100%.
sure.
I always do.
Ditto.
Yeah. Those things are priceless.
They're amazing.
Yeah, I love them.
I will say I bought the cheap Chinese Amazon version, and they're
That's
garbage.
what
I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
really?
Yeah, as opposed to like the Zwicky. So I shot a bunch. We used to go stump shooting just for practicing, like before the season. And that Zwicky's amazing. The thing is like indestructible. I cheaped out, and it's like a 3-piece. The cheap ones from China are like a 3-piece, and so the thing just like the spring pops off of it, and it's like the front of it comes unscrewed from the back. It's just weird. So I'll spend the extra $3 on the Zwicky.
Yeah.
I think I
from now
got the
on.
cheap China ones then.
But
I don't even remember.
I don't know. They came.
No,
there
I
was
think-
like,
I
there was
think
like
I-
20 in the pack for
Yep.
like
No,
$8.
Right, and so-
I bought mine at Bass Pro.
Yeah, you got some
I
like
bought
legit
like a
ones.
4-pack of them
I'll
or
have
whatever.
to, and
Yeah.
I probably won't pick up Zwickies until all 20 of those are gone. 'cause
Right.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, of course.
I've got my bow downstairs. I'll show you what they look like. You can
Yeah.
you'll probably be able to spot it right away.
yeah, it does get the job done. You can
Yeah.
easily, and there's no.
It only needs to work once.
Yep.
I don't need to do it. I mean, if I got 20 of them, I can afford to
true.
have one bust out.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
All right, so story time from you. Tell us one of your favorite elk hunting stories.
You got like as you're saying stuff, like I'm like you said something about him getting on the radio, and I'm like, oh, radio story. And you said something about grouse. I'm like, ooh, grouse story. Right. So I'm like, I have like 100 things in here.
Right.
I think one of the funniest ones is we're rifle hunting. My father-in-law's a pretty big dude. He doesn't really go deep into the woods. We hadn't seen anything all week. It's like day 4, day 5, and we're bored. And I can hear my best friend Luke, over the radio. He goes, "Hey Clark," and I hear my father-in-law because he's sitting in the truck now from the road. He's like, "Go for Clark," and I'm gonna make the sounds. He's like, "Is rabbit in season?" And I hear Clark go, "Stand by." And so I can like see my father-in-law in the truck, like thumbing through the game regs real quick. And he finally comes back on the radio and goes, "Affirmative, rabbit is in season." And I hear, boom! And then my buddy comes back over the radio and he goes, "Rabbit down." I was like, yes! So
That's why you wanted me to shoot the grouse with my rifle.
I did so
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
bad. And so he shot this cottontail, and it was like it could not have been a better shot. He took out all the guts, everything in the middle that you don't want,
Right.
gone, and we kept the.
What did he
the
shoot it with?
quarters. A 300 Win Mag.
You sure it wasn't just a pink mist when he went to pick it up?
For sure was, but there was still some solid haunches that we could
Right.
we brought back, and that was the year we stayed in. We actually for a couple of years stayed in a like a really nice condo, and a buddy of mine has a timeshare up there, so we stayed in his condo in Steamboat.
You were
which
glamping.
is- for sure.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
it was super nice. And
I mean, we kind of glamp too, but we do it in the backwoods.
Yeah.
We take enough gear back there to probably set up a hotel.
Yeah,
It's so
we'll,
nice, though,
we'll have
man.
to. I'll have to share a couple pictures of like what our actual trek in looks like with
for sure.
three
We-
1,200
I
pound
was gonna
ATV
say-
trailer capacity.
I think
Yeah, it's absurd.
the pictures of how much crap that we can strap to an ATV and drive it 8 miles back is incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So especially if you can. So my unit, you can't do it, right? We got to XO it in, which it's fun either way, right? I don't care how you do it.
Well, I think
there's a lot to be said for having a nice wall tent and a wood burning stove, camp kitchen, and all that stuff. It's so nice.
It's magnificent.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it makes that part of it worth.
The creature
every bit.
comforts are definitely nice.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
But I think this year we're going hybrid style though. So we're planning on going a little more minimal as far as like base camp.
And we don't need like 70 coolers and
right.
You know,
Well, the beer consumption has gone down drastically every
Has
year.
the alcohol takes up quite a bit of space.
It used to be like, how much beer you bring? You're like, about 4 cases, and you're, for a week long or something like that. Now it's like, I brought like a 12-pack with me, I think, for a week, and so it's definitely tamed down a little bit. So the cooler capacity is not as high as it once was. But
if you guys go in and kill elk, deer, bear, and a couple of grouse, it might be.
Well, I
that
hope
would be like the most ideal. I might quit hunting if I got all 4 of those in one trip. I might be like,
we didn't divulge the other part though. Should we get into a year like that, which is we actually had a full deep freeze at the truck with a generator hooked to it.
But it's one of those things, right, where you bring it, it's Murphy's Law, right? You bring it, you're not going to kill anything, right? If we didn't bring it, we would have killed everything.
Yeah,
that's
guaranteed.
true. The amount of times that I've gone out, like my game bags, I'm like, I don't want to carry the game bags. If I need them, I'll come back and get them. And sure enough, you end up killing something, and then you carry your game bag for an entire week and don't see it out, right?
Yeah. That was me last year.
Well, that was part of our reasoning for getting an exo pack was, the 1 year, it was 2 years ago, Dusty shot a cow down in this area that we like to go down into, and we
call it Fern Gully.
Yeah, we had to radio back camp like, hey, we need our racks. Yeah. And somebody came down.
That was me.
It was you.
I packed all pack racks
all 4
myself.
racks.
Okay.
So I put all the racks on my back and brought them down so that we could haul it.
This was pre-EXO.
Yes. This is kind of the reasoning why EXO became a thing for us.
I was like, that's it. I'm not doing that crap again.
Well, and so the year before that was when Darby. Here we go into another story, right? So this is the first year I went with you guys.
Yep.
And in the place that we've gone back to several times. And so we've got radios. I'm hunting with another guy just on the other side of this lake, and my radio goes off. And it's like, hey, does anybody got ears on? I'm like, hey, it's Hirsch. And he's like, hey, it's Darby. I got a bull down. I was like, sweet, where are you? He goes, I'm on the other side of the pond. I'm like, well, shoot, we're on the other side. We'll just hoof it over to you. Yeah. So we go over to him, and you're like, oh, he's super excited. He pulls out his broken arrow. It's covered in blood. He's like, oh, it's what is it, 2/10 of a mile?
Yeah, it's just 2/10 of a mile.
Just 2/10 of a mile down there.
I ranged it. I know how far it is.
Right. Yeah. So we're like, all right, sweet. Let's go back to camp. It's about a 3/4 mile hike back to camp. Get our racks on. On our way back, Joel and Dusty are coming up the other trail. We're like, hey, good news. Darby got a bull. And so we all get our racks on, and we walk down. And so Darby's got his GPS out, and he's like, all right, we're going. And I'm like, all right, we keep going downhill. I'm like, we're still going downhill.
And by downhill, I mean
like
down.
You need climbing gear to get down.
Like
so,
grabbing trees.
And I'm starting, and we're like, I feel like we're a mile down the mountain.
Are you seeing blood or tracks?
We hadn't even got to the point where he had shot it yet. We're still going downhill, and I'm like, Darby, there's no way this is freaking 2/10 of a mile.
And it's rifle season?
No, this is archery.
I knew right away that I was calling BS because usually I can read Darb pretty well. And he's like, just 2/10 of a mile.
I was super pumped. I'm like, this is going to be an easy pack out, right?
I knew the minute we started going downhill, I'm like,
finally,
he's totally
I'm like, he's barreling downhill. And so finally we get to the point, he's like, all right, this is where I shot him. I heard him fall that way. So we start walking on this trail, and finally we find the bull, and
I found him.
Yeah, Joel found him first, so we clean them all up.
So how far from? So his 2/10 of a mile is actually.
It was probably like a mile.
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't even close.
Like
it was not even close.
No.
But that's man, right? So like this is 6 inches, right? So
right.
Yeah, he ain't wrong.
Like on the map, it said it was only an inch away from here.
Yeah.
Did you notice that the map is an inch equals a mile? Okay, so we get there, we pack everything up. And we quarter it all out.
You got to go back up that hill to get out?
Yeah. So we're looking at the map going, all right. And this is before Onyx And, things like I've got a Garmin,
Yep.
Joel's, or
Yeah.
Darby's got a Garmin. Everybody's got Garmins. We're looking at it going, all right, well, we might as well just go back the way we came up. It was
Horrible.
like bear crawl, like literally hand over fist.
And it's four of you?
4 of us.
So you're
five
one.
of us.
You're one tripping it. That's good, right?
Yeah.
No,
one-
there was 5 of us because AJ.
There's 5 of
It
us.
was
Yeah.
AJ, Dave,
That's good.
Darby, you and I.
but we only had 4 racks. So
Yeah.
so AJ only thing,
carried bows.
he carried an extra bow out,
Yeah.
and that was it.
So anyway, like 3 hours later, we get back to camp, right? And we're all gassed.
Yeah.
And
AJ's
just
like, "What are you going back out, guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go."
Well, he did. He went back out.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I'm going to go hunt." I'm like, "I'm done,
Of course
dude.
you
My
are.
hips
Yeah.
hate me. My body hates me. Like
Yeah.
it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm just going to sit here and have beer and enjoy the rest of the evening."
Right. We'll get them later.
Right.
He says.
So then the next day we're out hunting. We ended up getting down below it, and we were coming back up, and we hit the same trail that we were on. That we ended up just going straight up the mountain, and so we walked this trail out, and we got right back to camp. And I'm sitting there going, "We should have just taken that trail. It would have been way easier."
Oh yeah, 100%.
It would have been a nice, easy stroll out.
Yeah.
Instead, we decided to climb
That-
up Mount Everest to get out of it.
I think of the the BRO guys would always talk about like how Nick Schmidt always be like, it's on contour,
Right,
yeah,
right?
right.
Like we should have stayed on contour.
Yeah.
Because
1,000,000%.
yeah,
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the
straight up, straight down.
The place we hunt, our little hunting hole where we killed a bunch of elk, within, like I was telling you guys about that, like 600-yard area, we've killed just a pile of elk in there. We only know how to get there the easy way now, which is still not super easy, but the easy way because we went in a different way.
Right.
That was when we killed Edgar, and ended up going.
That's where Edgar comes
going
from.
up, yeah. We ended up coming out. We just followed the drainage out, and it was like, okay, that
Yeah.
was way easier than the way we came in. This is how we come in from now on.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too because last year in that same spot, there's typically a trail that we take out of camp, and there's a lot of deadfall, and it's a pretty lengthy trail to get down to the main pond where we kind of disperse. And so last year I had Onyx out, and I'm like, we'd camped at a slightly different spot. I'm like, dude, we could just literally walk right out of the back of camp and cut off like a half a mile of our initial hike.
No,
And
it
so-
was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Like, it
and
was
so
a half a mile.
it took us, typically it would take us like, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes to go from camp down to the pond. And
Do you ever see anything between camp and the pond? Like, is there value in
tracks,
Okay.
deer tracks.
Occasionally.
And
Yeah.
claw marks from bears and stuff
Yeah,
like
lots
that.
lots of
Very
clawed up
fast.
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we decided to one day we got back to camp. We're like, let's go check this out. And within 10 minutes of leaving camp, we were at the pond. And I'm sitting there going,
the amount
this
of miles.
is way
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
So that's how we got to and from that. It cut off so much of our trip just by reading our maps a little bit better.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing was too is when we looked at that at the end of the week, like I felt as if every day last year we had probably hiked or put in just the same amount of effort as we always have.
Mm-hmm.
And the year before we hiked like almost, I think it was close to 60, it was between like 50 and 60 miles.
Yeah.
And last year we were in the 40 somethings.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's massive, right?
And it was just being able to read those maps a little bit better than we
Yeah.
had on a Garmin or something like that.
Sure.
Well, and I think the other part is too is guys they like to talk about their mileage and stuff like that like a badge of honor, and I'm like, dude, if I can do it in 40, you win. Go ahead. If you want to hike 60 or 70 or whatever you got,
Well,
like
and then the amount of deadfall too, year in, year out
Yeah.
changes so much. The initial trail that we typically would go down was always pretty clear. And last year when we went in the first couple of times that we were on that trail, it was a completely different trail because of how much deadfall there
Yep.
was.
Yeah.
And so that's why this secondary route ended up becoming our go-to because
Yeah.
it was so much more clear than the original one.
And that deadfall can be
Oh,
drastic.
that's you always hear guys that I think we hate it.
We spent
hate
so
it
much
every
time hopping trees last year. God, I hated that. I marked on our maps. I boxed out in giant red, colors like do not walk anywhere in here. If there's an elk,
we went
leave 'em.
100. We went like 100 yards in one area. We didn't touch the ground.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because it was just
I can see like a clearing over there. So we'd start kind of hopping through, and next thing you know, it's like, you know, it was you hopscotch back and forth, and then like, oh, I can't go back this way. Now I'm going to cut back, and I'm like, screw it, let's just go back out and take the long way
Well,
around.
it gets dangerous too, right?
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
One of those, you're done. Yeah.
I mean, when you're crawling on your hands and knees, you get under logs and stuff, and I'm like, let's just not do this.
Yeah.
We hear a lot of guys. I know, like I've watched a lot of films and stuff like that guys put out, and the guys from Idaho, Montana, they come out here and they all will comment. They're like, "This is brutal." Yeah. And they'll all say how
we
bad.
Almost had a tree. We had a tree almost fall on us last year.
10 seconds.
Yeah, we walked.
Oh yeah,
we walked through this patch of aspens, and I mean,
was the wind blowing super hard?
Yeah, the wind was blowing pretty good, and I mean, we weren't 20 yards from where we had just walked, and a tree fell right there. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, God, if we had just taken like 2 more seconds to just look at a map or talk or something like that.
I mean, like, we saw it. Like, it was crack, and we like turned where we were. Yeah. But we also saw, remember the huge one we saw from the ridge? We saw like 100-foot tree fall last year, too.
It looked like somebody put a charge of TNT in the base, and it exploded.
Awesome.
And it was just like,
that was pretty
boom.
And
then
that was cool because we were way far away. Yeah. But I'd never seen that either. Yeah. And all of a sudden, this just massive tree just cut loose, and we just watch it just.
Yeah. So it's, I kind of, the place where we normally camp, like we camp, so we set up a base camp, and then we'll go in, whatever, 1.5 miles, 2 miles, and set up in a place that's got water near it. But to that point, when you're laying in your tent, or a couple of the other guys use hammocks, and so they're laying in their hammocks, and it's windy at night, and it's pitch dark, and you can hear the trees falling. You're like, oh, this could be it. You'd never see it coming, right?
No.
I could be not going home. It's eerie. So I mean, in the daytime, it's one thing because we've seen them fall not as close as you. But man, if one of those were to fall in your tent or your hammock, you're just
right.
It was your time.
Speaking of that, I was actually that's a funny that you bring that up, the hammock thing. Like, do you sleep use a hammock?
I don't.
No.
I was doing floorless shelter for a while. I had a little cheap Mountain Smith shelter. It was like $98. The thing was really nice. And the bugs don't so much bother me, but if I don't have to deal with them, I don't want to, especially since I've been seeing more ticks recently.
Yeah.
So I got rid of that and picked up a Nemo Hornet. They say it's a 2P, but like there's no way.
Anytime you say 2 or 4, just cut it in half.
Yeah, the dudes
that's how
in
much
this
it
room,
is.
None of the 2 of us are gonna
unless you're 5'2", right?
Yeah.
And you wear
2 kids.
But the other guys carried. And I think they just bought cheap hammocks. They're not like the ultralight stuff, so they're actually the straps on them are pretty stinking heavy.
Yeah.
But they say they
because that's what I'm doing now. Is I'm like evaluating. I looked at like full enclosure ones.
Yeah.
But again, like at the bottom line for me is I keep looking at like what's the tear weight look like.
Yep.
And
totally.
And I'm estimating now it's like
sort of a tarp over the top,
how much am I going to have to carry? Because like I said, we're thinking kind of like hybrid hunting this year, and the plan is that we're going to go to where we know, assuming we get our tags first and foremost, right?
Fingers still crossed.
But you're hunting.
Exactly.
We're going to hunt.
But
sure.
And the plan is that that may be a 2-day kind of ordeal from where we set up, and we're going to be a little bit more minimal in terms of like having kind of a home base.
Yeah.
But at that point, like if we don't have anything on the ground, we're throwing it on our back, and we're going to take off from there.
Yep.
And we'll just we'll end up going maybe 2 more days out and 2 more days back, and some type of loop fashion and bivy it from there. Yeah. Which to me, I think like we're all kind of excited about that because we've always just put boatload of work into having a camp, and then
we travel pretty far back.
Yeah, it's good and it's bad. We do.
It's not like we're camping on the side of the road and then walking in 100 yards and going, oh, there's nothing here.
Yeah,
right. Like a lot of the guys that just hike out a mile and go.
Road hunters.
Yeah. Well, I went back in there a little ways. Is it lunchtime?
So the cool thing, honestly, and I'll tell it if we got the time, I'll tell the Edgar one. But Edgar's meadow is like, it's like as the crow flies on the map, it's like 0.75 miles from the road. Now it's some winding trails and it's steep and stuff like that. But man, we've had really good luck. So I hear guys like that, go in 5, 7, 8 miles. And every time somebody says, "Oh, I was 8 miles back," I'm like, "No, you weren't. Unless you're on a horse, you were not 8 miles back."
Right.
And maybe they are. Like Cam Haines, I get it. Cam Haines was probably 8 miles back, right? But
he ran back.
Right.
Yeah.
With a full pack.
And he didn't even have a bow. He like strangled the elk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He was spear hunting.
But so like the guys that are way, way back, I get it. But you hear guys like the elk nut, like Paul Medell.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is, he's my stinking hero. Like everything he said.
He is a nut, by the way.
He is.
Yeah.
But if he told me to like cut one pant leg off and bark like a dog and it would bring elk in, I would totally do it because everything he's told me to do that I did,
has worked.
It worked. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I have the app on my phone.
But he's
so that's,
it's unbelievable,
Yeah.
man. But he's like I watch these guys go in 5, 6 miles and I'll let them walk right past me and then I'll kill elk a mile in and
right.
bring
That's
them
like
out.
the old saying, right? You don't want to pass elk to find elk.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something I haven't always been true to.
We were thinking about that last year.
Oh, yeah.
Going, God, there's so many people out here, but how many elk did we pass on the way in to go find more elk?
Yeah.
Yep.
2 years ago, I almost killed a bull from camp.
I'm waiting for that. I've been.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not kidding you. And I mean, like,
If he had his release, it would have happened.
the thing is, so where our camp was set up 2 years ago is another story for you. And this is a pretty short and quick one. So
No, you're good.
I'd come back in the afternoon, and like I broke a big toe like years ago, and every now and then like it'll
How did
act
you
up.
do it? What'd you do?
I had a window drop on it.
Okay.
Not cool. So I've got arthritis
Like
and
kicking some dude's butt in a
No,
fight or something.
no, that definitely won't see me in a lot of bar fights. And so every now and then, like, I'll kind of have to, like, take an afternoon where I just kind of chill a little bit. Well, I did this afternoon.
That's because you had terrible boots.
Yeah, terrible boots, which I don't now. Thank you, Crispy. And little plug there. But so I'm sitting at camp, and Darby's dad had come up that year, and he just kind of hung out and cooked and drank beer and just sat around all day. And so I hung out with his dad that afternoon, and we're sitting in camp. And the area where we're at, like, there's kind of a trail that ends where no more, like, ATVs can go and whatever. Yeah. And I kind of look up the hill, and there's two dudes sitting, like, there getting ready to, like, head back out. And we're at the end of that spot, and that's kind of where we're camped because then we knew you got to hike in from there. And it's hour before sundown or whatever, and all of a sudden I look up, and there's this, like, 6x6 bull just walking the ridge, like, 50 yards from me.
Now he sees you?
No.
Wind must be perfect.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't even see the two dudes on the ATV.
Yeah. And so
real quick, I'm gonna ask you. So,
yeah.
Are you on a road?
No.
We're
at the end of a road.
Okay. So
or a trail, an
this is one of
ATV trail.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
It's foreign to me because we always camp either on the road with like the wall tents and campers.
Yeah. No, we're 9 miles in at the end
ATV
of
or horse trail, something like that. Okay,
yeah, that's it.
Right,
yeah.
Cool.
But our camp is set up right there.
Yeah.
And I look over, and there's this group of aspens, and this bull's walking straight, just loping, just walking up. And, like, Darby's dad looks at me and goes, "There's a bull right there." And I just start kind of creeping towards my bow, because my bow is, like, probably out the door from where we are sitting right now. Like, it's 10, 15 feet away from me. So I just kind of start creeping over towards that. I'm like, if he walks out of those aspens, he's literally broadside to me at 40. And as soon as he got up, and what he didn't know was where those two guys are sitting right here, he's walking up the hill directly at them.
Yeah.
And the minute that he caught wind of them, he didn't run. He just kind of goes like this and just walks off. And so I, like, throw my everything on, and I just start taking off and never saw him again. And, like, I still in my mind think that if those two dudes weren't sitting there, he would have just walked straight out in front of me, and I would have freaking plugged him right from camp.
That's so
Yeah.
It's so weird. I wasn't in camp, but I got to the top, not to the top. I got to a place where I could call the wife and kids, and we do like we try to do family prayer time and all that stuff. So I sit on this log, real small clearing, right next to a dark timber patch. Bo was sitting next to me. I took my hat off. I got my hat in my hands. I'm talking on the phone, and it's just like we are, right? Not super quiet. Finish up family prayer time. I shut the phone down, and I'm not kidding. I look up, and the timber patch from me to the edge of the timber patch has got to be, it's no more than 20 yards. And I just hung up the phone and just stopped talking, and he literally walks out of the timber patch, and he's got to be a decent little 5x5. doesn't see me, and I'm sitting out in the open on this log, and so I'm like frozen now,
Yeah.
trying not to. I did same thing as you, right?
This reminds me of what Steve Chappell talked about.
Slow as I could, reached over, grabbed my bow, and obviously there's not an arrow nock because I'm a jackass. So
Yeah,
bring
of
it
course.
back over. As I get an arrow nock, he walks past me, and I don't know if I didn't hear him booger, but I didn't turn around super fast. So I got my arrow knocked, and I slowly turned around on the log, and I didn't see him, but I know where he was going. So I get up and I start walking up to where he was, and he's gone. But up from the creek come 2 more bulls, and they're walking. They were gonna like intersect.
Yeah.
And I swear, like I had come to full draw and was waiting for the one to come out in between the clearing of these little aspens that were in the way. And he got behind the aspen, and it must have, the wind hit me in the back of the neck, and they vanished. just I mean,
Right.
it was so close, but he
Yeah.
walked. No, he could not have been at the closest point. He couldn't have been 30 feet. It was like amazing, but
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Always
Always
have an
knock an
arrow
arrow.
now.
Oh,
Well, you know,
that is the
what's
lesson.
interesting about
Seriously.
that is like if you watched our podcast with Steve Chappell, if you go through that, he tells a story about being with one of his cameramen, and they're literally in the wide open, and there's a bull, and he goes, "Watch this," and he basically tells the cameraman like, "I'm gonna draw on this bull." He's like, "I'm not gonna shoot it, but just watch." And he goes, "As long as you're just calm and steady," and he pulls his bow up and he draws and gets the full draw, and he's in the wide open. The bull's in the wide open. The bull never moved. Didn't like spook. Didn't run. Nothing. He's like, you just have to be kind of calm and methodical and whatever. And he's like, you'll be surprised how many times, like in those situations, if you don't act rashly or like, reach over and grab and like do
jerky,
like whatever, right? Like he goes, you can be in the wide open as long as you're kind of calm and collected and you draw smoothly, whatever. He's like, he's seen time and time again where, you can get a shot off in those situations. Yeah. So
I believe it.
yeah, for sure.
Also goes to tell you that your camo doesn't do crap. Right? You don't need to be quiet. You don't need to be concealed. Right? I mean, you were on the phone and somebody comes out 20 yards in front of you.
Well,
right? Chappell's out in the middle of nowhere, right? In the middle of a football field trying to hunt an elk, right? And the elk walks right by him.
Right. Yep. So I think it's funny because like there's like 3 things that come to mind. It's like the first one is, how many times, just like how you think about stuff when you're out there, right? You leave camp, wherever that is in the morning, and your brain goes right to like, we got to get somewhere.
Yep.
And it's like the minute we put our gear on, we're already there.
Oh yeah,
you never know where it's going to be, right?
You're,
and
you're
like
exactly right, and that's the mindset I got to get into because you're right. I guarantee
put your head
you
down
I'm
and just
blowing past stuff.
Right.
I know I am.
Well, my first year rifle hunting with you, that was one thing that I remember you harping on me about because I'm not a quiet walker.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like we've got rifles out, we're following tracks, and I'm just stomping through the woods.
Yeah.
And he's like,
shut up.
We are hunting.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're going over there. He's like, no, we are hunting. He
Yeah.
could literally be 10 yards away from us right now.
Yeah. You never know.
You never know. So
Yeah.
I've made it a point to try and be a more quiet hunter.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
for
realize
sure. Me
that,
too.
on the way there, we're still on the lookout.
You never know.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and in a moment's notice, like you said, things like that can happen. And you just have to always kind of, I think the mental checks of stuff like that, right? Which is the minute you take off, you're already hunting,
yeah.
right? The second part is talking about noise. It's like, I think sometimes you try so hard to like, inch your way around, and then like you watch guys like Dirk and, whoever, and it's like they'll, what do they call it?
Paralysis by analysis.
Rambush or whatever, where
right.
it's like you just go stomping and do all this other stuff. And it's like,
still kill 'em.
if you've ever been around elk, like, are they quiet? The first time I ever heard an elk when I was it was archery hunting in September, which would be another really good story. Maybe we'll tell that one later. But
this might end up being a
Right.
three-parter.
yeah,
in.
three-parter. But we had been walking through this timber, and it started raining, and we got close to where a bull kind of like, I think he heard us, and he was just still. And we got close enough, and all of a sudden, like, I just hear that it sounded like
You couldn't see him though?
No, never saw him. I never made a noise, right? And the first time I'd ever been that close to an elk in the woods, really, and all of a sudden it just sounded like a boulder cut loose. and just go straight downhill. And all you could hear was tree limbs breaking and just boom, 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 you know, and it's his feet hitting the ground, his hooves hitting the ground. And I was like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
You know, like literally, because that's my first experience ever. And I remember like Darby's like, yeah, we just got busted. And I was like, wait, that really? I was like, that sounded.
Think about like a bull has these giant, you know, rock hard antlers, and they're clanking and clashing all over the trees. Like those things are not easy to be quiet with.
Yeah.
But it's incredible how.
But they could also
be
ghosts.
Can be like yes.
Yeah.
It's insane.
There's I've got an old picture in my archive somewhere of a place that we used to walk all the time, and there was this down tree, and it's right at the perfect height where literally I don't know how many bulls have run through there, and the whole backside of that tree is just scarred with antlers. Awesome. And I remember taking a picture. I got it somewhere, and it's such a cool picture because like you look up and I was like, holy crap, how many bulls have like smacked their antlers on that thing, and it was just all the way across it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool. That is super cool.
Yeah. So.
Cool. What about you? Your favorite? You got like a favorite hunting story?
I'm probably the least experienced hunter in this group.
So yeah, I don't care if it was
I
like
just
a
started,
grouse or anything.
Well, I just started. You know, what is this? 5-6 years ago is when I picked up. Actually, my buddy Chris took me out for the first time ever. We went to a unit out by Meeker, and you know we camped on the side of the road, and he kind of showed me the ropes, and we walked around, and here's what an elk print looks like, and here's what an elk turd looks like.
So let me hit that real quick, because I just did that with a buddy that has never been hunting before. And and this is a grown man, but he's walking through the woods like he's at Disneyland. Like I'm like, this is where a bear climbed up this tree. Yeah. This is where, because the elk eat the aspen bark, and so I'm showing him like their bottom teeth, they scrape it off. It's like candy to him, and he's just like absorbing all this, and it's like this super awesome like face of wonder. Was that the feeling?
And it still happens to me. I mean, I walk through the woods, like even when we're out turkey hunting, like I walk through the woods and I'm just, like I see a rub or something like that. I'm like, oh, there's an animal here. Like, I see a foot, I'm like, oh, there's a track there. Like, oh, there's an elk print there. Like, oh, there's a bear turd. Like, like I get giddy with that stuff.
Yes.
But then
now you're like, what's fresh, what's not fresh.
Right. And I mean, there's a little bit of a, experience factor that plays into it. But I think even for me, it's like sometimes I think, well, I'm the first person to ever walk back here. Yep, I think right. So. And we were out elk hunting, right? Or turkey hunting a couple weeks ago. And we start walking back. I'm like, dude, no one's ever been back here before. Like this place is a ghost town. And then there's a pit, and there's probably 10 old beer tin cans. They were pop top,
like the aluminum foil.
They were tin,
old school. I'll post a picture of it in the production.
Awesome.
Cans, and there was another can of like canned bacon or something like that.
Right.
And I'm like,
dang it,
somebody's been here.
Right.
But it may have been 50 years ago,
right,
but somebody's been here.
Yeah.
And then then you keep walking through, and I think for me, I like seeing all the stuff that doesn't seem normal. Like why would this be here? Like we ran across a quartz deposit that looked like somebody had mined it, or was looking for something. I'm like, this is so far back. How did anybody find this back here?
The tree tags?
So then we're walking our way back out, and I'm like, oh look, there's a silver tag hammered into this tree,
with a number on it.
With a number on it, and then he turns around, and like this whole grove all had the same tags on it, and I'm like,
I have no idea. I've never seen
why would that be here? And I posted it in the Facebook group. And, someone was saying there was some kind of a study, like a tree study or something going on with that,
because they all had different numbers.
Yeah, but anyway, like I think sometimes I'm like, we are so far back. We have, there shouldn't be anything here but trees and leaves and animals.
Right.
And then you see like there's an old beer can, right? There's a cigarette butt. There's there's all this stuff, and I'm like, for me, I think that is part of my excitement, is seeing stuff that I've never seen before. Like, all right, there's a tree, this, that, and the other.
That's super exciting.
And like when we saw a shed for the first time, and I was like, oh, like what is? And then I'm like, no, that's not a shed. That's that's a root. And we get closer, and I'm like, no, it's a shed. Like, all right, sweet.
That's
like
cool.
Because I never found one before. I'm like, in that
a
that
really
for me,
nice one too.
Yeah, that for me was that's the exciting part of it, right? And then the first year that I went archery hunting with them, experiencing a bull bugle within 50 yards of us.
Tell me.
Like, talk about an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Like my chest shaking, like seeing the animal, like hearing him clank around and bugle, and I'm like,
And you were with them at the time?
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So did this happen? You hear it, and everybody looks at each other like.
Pretty-
All you look at each other?
It was,
That-
I mean, it was like
Yeah.
as soon as you hear it and you know you're
That
close,
damn
it's like,
cow screwed me that
yeah,
year.
it's game on, right? So we'd been hiking all over this mountain, and finally we get this bull bugling his brains out, and there's a
You were
line
calling first?
Darby was calling.
Yeah, Darby was
for
cow
me.
calling.
Sweet. Okay.
So there's this line of trees, and the bull's on the other side of the trees.
Yeah.
And so Joel was up, so he goes down probably, 30, 40 yards in front of us.
Yeah, something like
And so
that.
we were back, and we were trying to call this bull through this line of trees. And so we had our focus straight ahead. And, cracking off back and forth. And I'm sitting there going, oh, this is getting exciting. This is getting exciting, right?
He's
And so-
literally like I can hear him thrashing in the trees just through this little ravine, and I'm like, he's less than 10 yards
far
from
behind
showing.
you is Darby?
Probably 40 yards.
Yeah, there was
This-
four of us.
This is a good looking setup then. Like
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it was ideal.
if he comes in, he's looking right through you.
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, again, our focus, our attention was straight ahead at the bull. And so he's down there and he's looking around, and we're spraying shit in the air. And,
Yeah.
we're just trying to do anything we can to get this guy to come to us. And this
The only thing
cow,
we didn't do, we should have raked.
Yeah.
We didn't rake that. No,
but we didn't really
should've,
know
yeah.
better, right?
Yeah.
So then this cow rolls in, and he has no idea. This cow's like, how far from?
She's 20 yards ahead of me,
Yeah.
like just straight down below me.
And she's staring at you.
No clue I was there.
None.
I'm just,
she didn't
I'm
know.
just hugging a tree.
Yeah.
She was so close to me that I could hear the grass tearing as she's
As
like
she's eating.
pulling it out of the ground.
And you didn't have a cow tag?
No, I
So
hadn't.
you had-
I
you
hadn't
had
either
either
sex
sex,
tag.
yeah.
But here's the thing. So I'm sitting there, and she'd raise her head up and look around, and I'm like just propped up against a tree. I'm just hanging out, and there was a dead tree, and the angle that the tree was laying on the ground
Yeah.
was parallel to her entire torso.
Of course it was.
Like I can
It
see her
has
to be
legs.
body armor.
I can see
There's
her
no
legs.
reason that it shouldn't have been.
Her legs I can see,
Uh-huh.
and her head I can see, and literally her whole entire body is behind that tree.
God loves elk.
And I just sat there, and she just ate grass in front of me for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And she'd come up, and I'm like, all she has to do is like step 5 feet that way, 3 feet that way, or go back that way, and it's over. And I literally think what happened was, so we did that, and we were sat there for
We
an
were there
hour.
like
So you were
an
going to shoot
hour.
her. You were going to
We
shoot
were
her.
going to shoot anything.
Yeah,
But
because
I
it was
mean,
the last
our main
day.
focus was the bull.
Right.
Yeah, and we had called that bull all the
Now,
way.
Where are you?
I'm sitting
He's
next to
back
Darby.
with Darby.
With Darby.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
4 of us back there. We're all sitting under a tree like,
Come
can
on
we get
already.
this bull to come through here already? Like,
Yeah.
seriously?
Now, you guys knew the cow was there or you didn't know?
No. We
was the
didn't
only
know
one that
until
saw
She
it.
just
we
snuck in right below me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
Quiet as a mouse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never. Yeah, didn't make a single sound. And what happened was, that bull, like hung up where it's like it's the do or die moment. Is he going to show himself and come into that opening or not?
Right.
And I could hear him thrashing around, and like he was just bellowing at us.
It makes me wonder
And
if you would have raked, would he have come out?
that's the only thing we didn't
That's
do.
my
And,
first. We had no
and what
idea.
happened
like
was
you didn't,
None
yeah, you didn't
whatsoever.
know.
that after the cow kind of like quit, feeding or whatever, she turned around and walked right back in that direction of where he was at.
But she didn't booger. You didn't.
No,
Okay.
never did. And when she turned around and walked back, I never had a shot at her, but she, I watched her walk right back. And I think when she walked back around there, he was like, "Oh, all right, I guess I'll just go this way." And he just
But that
kind of
was
boiled off.
that was like my first experience
Yeah.
of like a bull cracking off that close.
But that morning too,
But you
remember
didn't
how
have-
many we heard that morning? We probably heard 30 bugles that
yeah.
morning.
See, I don't know that I've ever been into that type of a
Yeah.
It was
fest
just
before.
like, it was a chorus of
Yeah.
bugling that
So
morning.
you had a tag or did not?
I did. No, this was my first time archery hunting.
Yeah. How were you? How did you decide who was shooter, who was caller first?
So-
who goes?
Because I was the
first?
only one that had a bull tag.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of times because Darb comes from out of state, we give him first crack.
Makes sense.
And he doesn't.
And he'd already shot his bull.
He really doesn't need first crack because he just randomly finds animals in the woods and spears them and
Yeah.
come back to camp, and then we have to sit there and
Pack
Yeah.
it all out.
hike our brains
Yeah,
out
last year, same thing.
for looking for animals. But I don't know if it was that same trip or it was the next year in Fern Gully, right, where we
Right,
like to
right.
go. We decided that we were going to go down in there super early and this was right as the sun was cracking the skyline, and there had to have been 30 elk in Fern Gully, and they were making their way down. We could see them through the trees, but we didn't want to move because we didn't want to spook them.
Sure.
And then one of them stepped on a stick and spooked the whole herd, and they boogered all down the hill.
One of the elk?
One of the elk, yeah.
Really?
And they all boogered downhill. And so we ended up just getting in there, and we just kind of set up.
Yeah.
And Joel and Darby were in this like middle evergreen area, and they're like, hey, why don't you go to the other side? And then when they, they'll come back up, and we'll get at them from both sides. So I walk across. It's probably 30, 40 yards.
Okay.
And I get to the other tree line, and then I start walking downhill, and I'm looking at my GPS because I know I'm really close to the property line. Right. So I walk down, and I'm looking at my GPS. I'm like, oh crap, I'm on private. So I turn around and I walked up because we'd already seen this area that I wanted to sit the day before. And so it's like, oh, there's the tree, and I'm literally like taking my pack off, like getting ready to go, and I hear this crunch, crunch, crunch from above me. I'm like, those guys told me to walk down here. Why are they following me? And so I pop up out of where I was seated, and I go back out, and I turn my head, and right around the tree, there's a spike and a cow walking the same trail I was on more than 30 seconds before that. And
we're watching them walk at him.
Right. And I'm sitting there going,
they're walking right at him.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, it's one of the things where you're trying to go like,
you're like,
I wonder if he knows what's going on over
super
there.
excited about it, right? I have no idea. I think it's them.
So you don't have your bow in your hand.
I don't have my bow in my hand.
Arrow's not knocked.
Nothing, right?
Just took your
I literally just took
You're
my pack off.
your tail off, stinking the place up.
No, well, maybe. I don't know. It was early in the morning, right? I hadn't had a chance to sweat because it was all downhill at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, what are those guys doing? And I turn my head, and the spike and the cow see me just from around this evergreen, and they bust, right? And they actually run right at Joel and Darby.
Right at us.
Right at them.
And we're watching.
Yeah.
And
then they started. You guys fling arrows or no?
Oh,
no,
yeah. Darby did. So what happened?
Darby's not afraid. So he starts flinging arrows, and they end up boogering all the way back down the hill. And I'm sitting there going,
because we had basically. I was on one side of the tree, Darby's on the other side of the tree, and they're running right at us. And I'm like, okay, well, if they stop, like, this is game over, right? The cow stops at 18 yards in front of Darby. Darby has a single pin with a dial. He had it set at 60.
Of course.
We had no time. He had no time to
What, do you run? You guys both run sliders?
Yeah,
I have
do.
a 5-pin.
Yeah, I run a slider. I run the Ascent.
Okay.
Black Gold.
Cool. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and
Squirrel.
Exactly. And so she stops. So he knows this, and he just aims down, right?
Yeah.
And just sails it right over the top of her. And I can't tell if you hit her or not, but I'm thinking to myself, this is over, right? Like that she's done.
She's gone. Yeah.
Right. And so it progresses because then it.
Well, then I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, those guys couldn't have been, 20 yards behind me, like following me walking down the same exact trail. Mm-hmm. So I get all my gear back on, and
Did
I
you
run.
Hear the shot? You heard his shot?
Yeah, I think he hit a tree, and I heard the thunk, when he hit a tree. And then I pop out. I'm like looking at the guys, going, "The hell was that? Like, why did they come down? Like, you didn't give me any heads up or nothing."
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there flustered.
We had seen those exact same elk the day before. Those the spikes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was flustered. I had no idea what was going on. It was my first encounter, like that close. I mean, it was like 20 yards. We both looked at each other and went, "Wait, you're an elk." And the elk looked at me and goes, "Wait, you're a hunter." Yeah. Like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So then I packed up all my stuff. I'm like, well, I was figuring that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so I went back over to the trees with them, and we were just waiting there. I don't know, it couldn't have been more than another hour or two, and the whole herd decided to come back up.
Awesome.
Off the private
and you're
ground.
not calling.
No, yes, we were calling. Sorry.
Okay.
Cow calling.
So
a lot
we
of
were,
cow calling.
yeah, we were cow calling. We pulled out the hoochie mama, and there was a bull down below us.
I love it.
That must have been circling because it felt like he was coming up, and
he just did like hot laps. Like
he would rattle one off. I mean, it sounded like an empty trash can rolling down a hill.
Awesome.
Just, I mean,
Cool
throaty and all get out. And we're like, oh, he's
we
coming
tried
up.
like crazy to get him to break that threshold, and he literally would just. I think he just kept kind of like keeping his cows in place.
Yeah.
And he'd go downhill, and then he'd come back uphill, and the whole time you could tell he just like sauntering around, and like he'd bugle, and then he'd get a little closer, and like
Yeah,
he
he's
just was
waiting
like
for you guys to come to him.
he was just
Yep.
making
Right.
he was just making laps.
We didn't give him any excuse to come up,
Yeah.
basically. So then finally, so there's a calf that had wandered. She was mewing on the other side of the meadow, and Darby and Joel and Dusty were all at the bottom of this area that we were in, and they're trying to get this big bull to come back up. Meanwhile, I'm watching the rest of the meadow, and I'm seeing this this little calf coming up, and I start cow calling, and the calf comes right at me.
Yep.
And Darby hears it, and he turns around, and he goes full draw at like, I don't know, 5 yards, right, from
Yeah.
this thing,
Yeah.
going, do I shoot this
Do
thing?
it.
Like, I'm like, wait, he's like waiting for this perfect shot because they're basically staring at each other. And I look down the hill and I see 12, head of elk starting to work their way back up.
Sorry.
And I'm looking at Darby going, I'm like, stop, like, don't shoot. They're I'm like trying to be quiet and yell at the same time because they're not that far from
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stop.
And he can't hear you.
He can't hear
see
me.
you.
No.
He's just,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so,
This has happened more than once in this spot.
I
Where
gotta
it's
love
like
you guys.
chaos.
yeah, it's nuts. So, these. Did Darb put a shot on the calf? Or I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he
Did he?
made a
Yeah,
nick
I
the
think-
shoulder
I
or
think-
something like that. And so the rest of the herd starts working their way up, and so Darby starts to sneak around.
After he shot?
After he shot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So the calf
They're
runs
still coming.
the calf runs uphill,
Yeah.
right?
Amazing.
And so the rest of the herd
This is
starts
mass
working
chaos.
their
They're
way up.
freaking everywhere.
That's
And-
crazy.
So then I'm sitting there in the trees going, all right, I got a cow tag. Darb's still got a bull tag. And this bull, you can hear the herd bull coming back up. And all these cows start filtering in front of me. And one stops. She was enormous. And it was like right on my 40-yard pin. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to let Darby take, a chance at the bull. And I'm going to wait. I'm like, God damn it. I'm going to draw and I'm going to hold. And I'm holding. I'm like, screw it. I got a tag too.
Yes.
And so,
I'm so glad. I was like,
Yeah.
He's like, please tell me you
know.
shot.
In my
Yeah.
head, this story went so bad already.
yeah. So I'm like,
Never pass.
I'm like, I've got a tag too. I'm going to let one rip. Right.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure by that point, because I had waited so long, I was just looking through the main housing. I
Right.
wasn't looking through my peep.
Right.
And I let it go. Right.
Speaking of 80 squirrel.
And, all hell breaks loose.
Clean miss.
So I found my arrow and it was full of fat. There's
Okay.
no blood on it.
Okay.
So I skimmed her somewhere.
Right.
I don't know if I'm at high or low, across the brisket, whatever.
Yeah.
So all hell breaks loose. And
Ugh.
I think we flung a total of maybe 8 arrows and hit 6 trees and lost 2 arrows and not a single animal on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And
No,
so then,
that wasn't Dusty shot the cow.
yeah, that was before though. That was before the herd came back up.
Okay.
And so there was already a dead cow on the ground.
Wow.
And so we're flinging arrows all over the place, right? And finally, it all ends.
It
And
makes
Darb-
it sound like terrible shots.
Yeah.
I didn't shoot it. I
Well,
didn't shoot a
they
single
were
arrow
shooting-
that morning.
He's like totally.
I shot one. I shot one arrow.
Just-
Darb entered.
Just for
he-
the record,
Yeah.
I did not shoot a single arrow that
Darby
morning.
emptied his quiver. Let's just put it down. He emptied his quiver.
Yeah.
I've walked out of the woods with an empty quiver before.
Yeah, so-
I'm not judging.
So Darb comes back from around the tree and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm sitting there going, "I couldn't wait any longer.
Nope.
She was broadside at 40 yards." He goes, he had the bull, full draw. One of his legs was back. All he was waiting for was a half a step forward to open up the lungs. And he was going to let it rip.
Mm-hmm.
And I let it rip a split second before that happened.
Yeah, I remember having to talk him down because I'm like, dude, what did relax? Like, what
I
would
felt
you-
so bad
because
because
he
I
would,
was
he
like,
would, you know him, he wouldn't have waited a half a second.
No. I was.
Darb would have shot. in
I
a
felt
heartbeat.
terrible because I was like, did I just mess this up? I'm a fairly new hunter to this
Yeah.
whole program.
I was the
I'm like,
mediator.
we had no line of sight to each other. Yeah, I was talking to Dusty on the way back out. He's like, "Yeah, Darby's just pissed. It's fine. He'll be all right. He'll get over it."
Yeah, but so like this is not like a. I get hunting etiquette. This is not like
Right.
bowling etiquette where, all right, sir, you
Yeah.
bowl first.
After
and
you,
then
sir.
I shall bowl after
Right.
you.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the opportunities come so few and
Yeah.
far between. That
This
you
is such a
can't
unique
pass on a shot.
circumstance.
You
Literally,
can't.
like,
Yeah.
Because-
Well, like I said, I'm the new guy in the group.
Yeah, you don't know.
So I don't want to be that guy, and I ended up being that guy. So
But that,
Yeah.
you
yeah,
didn't do anything
and I
wrong,
felt
if you
bad
ask
about
me.
it.
no.
No, and
The
I,
amount of
at the end
times-
of the day, like
Because
I
there's
look
no way
back
for
at
you
it,
to have known that.
Yeah, and I
You
look
didn't
back at
know.
it, I'm like, dude, I had no idea.
But in all honesty, even so, in the amount of times that we've done that, where one of us has waited, or even to a greater extent, two guys say in rifle season have a shot, and you count it down 3, 2, 1.
Right.
That never freaking works. Like
I played that scenario out in my head before. I'm like, wait, two animals, ready, 1, 2, 3, fire.
No, it so there's that.
Yeah,
but
doesn't work.
The amount of times that we've blown stuff like that because I wanted to wait because my guy from out
Right.
of state had a tag, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to wait because we knew the bull was coming up, and we all end up with no elk. We can't
Yeah.
risk that anymore, right? So in my
It's a
opinion,
lesson learned for sure.
You never did anything wrong.
Right.
If
See,
that scenario, so my question is, if that scenario presented itself the exact same way again,
I would shoot that cow in a heartbeat.
I love it. All right, proceed.
Here's the funny part.
I would put an arrow right through the pump.
Yeah.
So the arrow that I did fling down in that meadow.
Wait a second. I thought you said you didn't shoot. You
No,
said
this was the day before.
The day before.
Oh, got it.
So the day before, same scenario. Elk are filtering down into this area, right?
Yeah.
Darby had missed. I think that maybe got jumbled together a little bit. Darby had missed that cow.
Yeah,
at
I
18.
wasn't down there that morning. It was just you and Darb because Dusty and I went off somewhere else.
And so he's out looking for his arrow, trying to figure it out, and like we didn't see any blood. And we're like, I
Yeah.
think it's just a clean miss, whatever. And he's like, go back over and sit where we were. He's like, because I think they're going to start filtering down here. Sure enough, like 2 minutes later, here comes another cow down through this area. I can hear.
That's incredible.
And I've got like every tree marked. I'm like 32, 37, 40, everything, right? And sure, it just comes perfectly down. And I'm like, there's a big pine tree. And I'm like, as soon as she comes around that pine tree, that's 35 yards right at that spot, right?
Yeah.
Of course, she goes around the opposite side, right? The way Murphy's Law,
She has to.
classic, right? Yep. And she comes around, and I'm standing like behind a group of trees, but there's kind of a trail that's in front of me that's literally closer than I am to the end of the table. And so she filters towards this, and I have no shot unless she comes out more in front of me. So I've got her back behind, but I can see her moving, and I'm like, she might walk on this trail literally to the tip of my arrow, right? And of course, same scenario at Murphy's Law, gets to the end behind the tree, which is no bigger than the room we're standing in, and I'm at full draw already, and I'm like going, all right. And she goes this way. I like take a pivot step back, and I'm going to have her like dead to rights at like 5 yards. Mm-hmm. And she looks and sees Darby out there looking for his arrows. And turns and runs down. And now she's in front of me, but she's boogieing. Yeah. And so I give her the, and I get her to stop in front of a tree at 55. And I had like 4 seconds. I'm like, peg it, let it rip.
Because you had already ranged that tree.
I had already ranged that tree, and I got her to stop right at that tree, and I let it rip. And she takes off running, and he saw the whole thing, and he's like, I think you hit her. And I'm like, I couldn't tell. And I was so just kind of rattled by the whole thing because it happened so fast, right? And so he comes over. He's like, well, I'll walk over there to where you think it was. And the minute he walks over there, he just turns around to me and goes like this, like, yes. Awesome. And there's blood everywhere, and I'm like, holy crap, like,
this actually happened.
I can't believe it. Like, I actually, I hit her. And so we call and say like, I think we're good to go. We're just going to give it time, hang out and wait. Blood looks good, everything else. Never found the arrow. I think I buried it in her. Mm-hmm. And so we wait hour and a half or whatever, get the racks, and we're thinking
Dusty and I came down with racks.
And we go hiking down in there and never found her.
Blood trail just dried up.
It was really thick, dark black, and there were small pools here and there and drip drops here and there, but nothing from where he actually penetrated. Mm-hmm. The blood trail wasn't as good as it was right there.
How far before that dried up? So I measure my distance in like
100, 200
hours.
yards.
Couple hundred yards.
Okay. Yeah, because we ended up having to go down onto private land. We were chasing her down in there.
That's right. You told me that.
And then it kind of dried out. I mean, we were 5 people wide.
You ever seen Thomas Crown Affair?
Yeah.
It was like that. When they did the bowler
hats?
Yeah, it was like that moment because all of a sudden there was just highways of tracks everywhere, and we had I'm like, Did it go this way
Yeah.
or did it go
Well,
that
we
way?
realized once we went down in there looking for his cow, why that was such a great area for all those bulls and stuff to be hanging out. I mean, it was like elk paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just on the other side of the trees that we weren't technically allowed to go through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
There's a
That's
reason
a
why
good-
it's
good
private ground,
experience.
right?
yeah.
It's
I
one
mean
of those
that whole
I
year
don't know
was
that you'd-
But I mean, we all should have tagged out that year. We ended up with one animal,
yeah.
but we all should have tagged out.
I have that every year. Well, like everyone should tag out every
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
and we
because that
we
always
find
works.
a way to screw it up.
Yeah. Well, lessons learned, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I said
Yeah.
I'm a new hunter or new-ish hunter. Every experience that I have, is a new one for me.
Yeah.
And so, like, just the whole idea of drawing back, like, heart racing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've pitched in front of 40,000 people at a major league stadium before. Not nearly as nerve-wracking as drawing
Really?
my bow back to stick an animal with an arrow.
That's amazing.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like my heart was going through my chest.
Yeah.
And so that's where, breathing and, some of the stuff that I fall back on as an athlete,
Yeah.
that stuff comes into play.
Right.
But I'm like, all right, calm down. Like,
Yeah.
let's just make it. But I'm sitting there like, the adrenaline is just racing through my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
I
it
when
gets,
same. So it's funny because that not to that extent, but that same thing. Like, if I gotta shoot a squirrel in the backyard, I still get like
yeah.
just a little bit jittery. Like I really want us
Oh,
to
yeah.
go right,
Yeah.
right.
Well,
It's-
part of it is excitement, right?
Yeah.
The other part of it is don't screw this up.
Yes.
And then the other part is, I'm about to take another thing's life,
Life, yep.
right? And so that's why there's a lot of that's why I love what we do with hunting and a lot of the people that we surround ourselves with and things that we watch and try and emulate is that there's a lot of reverence for it. Like my mom
sure.
is very anti-hunting. She hates the fact that every time
Oh,
I
yeah.
tell her, Mom, I'm going into the woods, she goes, I put a curse on you. Don't kill a poor animal. And I try to explain to her, and I'm like, Mom, I'm trying to feed my family.
Right.
Like, no, don't kill an animal.
Well,
Just
not
go
only
to the
that, like,
grocery store.
You're right. Just go to the grocery store and get it.
Send her some. There, I mean, obviously you can find anything on YouTube, but my thing is like even if it's a poor shot and you end up recovering, that death is still so much more humane than have you ever watched an animal like literally starve to death?
Well,
or
that's-
be eaten by another like
right.
a-
And that's
a bear
something
or a
I
cat.
try to explain to her is
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's way
if
worse.
I
right?
don't kill
Or-
this animal will either die of starvation or disease or will be, shredded apart by a bear or a mountain lion or something like that. So,
Yeah.
Right. Parks
you
and
know-
Wildlife and the division have ensured that we're only taking the surplus,
Right.
right? And so,
right.
yeah, no,
I'm not hunting these animals to extinction, right? I'm-
Right.
Well, and even more so if you
Yeah.
take it to the other part, which is the people that say that stuff, and we can get in a long tangent with this. Like, have you ever been to where cattle are processed? You want to talk
Right.
about inhumane?
Yeah.
Go see where
watch.
your steaks and your
Super
hamburger,
efficient and cool though.
right?
Right.
But yeah.
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 But to those people, I'm always like, oh, hey, do you eat meat or whatever?
Right.
Like, well, yeah, but like I'd never go kill an animal. And I'm like,
No,
well,
you just pay
guess
someone
what?
to do the dirty work for
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Right. There's a much greater, kind of thing at stake here that, I mean, whether you want to admit it or not, like it's a different way to think about it. And, I'm not out to preach or get people to think
Sure.
differently. 'Cause like I'm in the same boat. I mean, like a lot of my, other side of the family, like my sister-in-law, like she's vegetarian, and they joke with me all the time, but they know, like, it's funny because like when they realized how much I enjoy and like and look forward to hunting, like they used to give me like, oh, we'll give you Cabela's cards, and they found out like, oh wait, he likes to go kill things. They're like, now all of a sudden they're like giving me socks or something.
Right.
It's like, they're like, oh, we don't want to support that.
And
right?
I think the other part too is like try and tell my mom, I'm like, this is not about trophies. Like I eat what I kill.
Yep.
Like if I'm shooting ducks, I'm eating ducks. Like if I'm shooting, a deer or an elk, I'm going to eat that animal. I'm not just going to leave them out there to rot and
Right.
expire and not be useful. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to take as much as I can, back so that I can feed my family and I'm going to consume it.
Is mom a vegetarian or no?
No, so she didn't eat red meat for about 20 years or so.
Okay. So
And only
if you
recently
killed something and brought it home,
she would eat it.
and-
Like I've
she would.
shot
Okay.
duck before and
Awesome.
she's
Okay.
eaten it.
So
So
that's awesome.
right, but that's I said if as this was before she ate red meat. Now she eats red
Sure.
meat again. So I'm like, well, when I kill an elk this year, we'll have an elk steak for Christmas.
Yeah.
She goes, well, what's it taste like? I'm like, it tastes
heaven.
way better than meat.
Yeah.
Like
Heaven.
way better than the meat you buy at the
It's
supermarket.
like God sprinkled beef with pixie dust.
Yes.
Right. That's Kim always gets so mad because every year, like we have a tradition in camp where whenever we shoot an elk,
Backstrap.
Tenderloins.
we're gonna
Nice.
we're gonna take
tenderloins.
Nice.
we're gonna take the tenderloins. I always bring bacon, and we're gonna wrap it in bacon. We're gonna grill it, and then we'll actually get into one of the bones, and we'll get marrow out of the bones and melt it.
Awesome.
And then we put that on top
I
of
did
it.
that the first year in camp.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I saw it on Meat Eater or something like that. He's like, oh, yeah, you just scoop out the marrow and you can melt it in a can and baste it. I was like, oh, that sounds
You know, it's
good.
so funny.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about traditions, we have a tradition, and we've since gone to like the gutless method, but
Yeah.
there's every now and again where we'll open it up and pull out the heart and liver
Right.
and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, I got a buddy that shot one. His wife isn't real big on it, so the other buddy was going to take it home after it was all quartered up and all that stuff. So I'm walking up with my pack to help pack out, and I literally walk up right as Kenny is telling Steve. Kenny's telling Steve, he's like, "Hey, this is your first elk. You gotta shave a piece of the heart off and eat it." And Steve's like, "I'm not doing that." And I happen to walk up right at that point, and Kenny's like, "Gabe will do it." And I'm like, "Gabe will do it." And so sure enough, now Kenny's got the heart in his hand, and he goes to cut a piece off, and I'm like, "At least get a clean knife."
Right.
You just had that in like poop and guts. Help me out.
Yeah.
So he gets a new knife and shaves a piece off, and I pop it in my mouth. And now Steve is standing there with 4 other dudes. And it's honestly, when it's still warm, it's delicious. It feels like just came out of the oven. It's awesome. And Steve is sitting there like got that like the Valley Girl ew look on his face, right? And so he ends up, but you're with 4 other dudes. So now I've eaten a piece of his elk's heart. He has to now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sure
This
enough,
is
This is peer pressure at this point.
Yeah,
this
you're
is
like,
Guy Code
"Come on,
101.
Let's get in there."
Come
So
on.
Hack a chunk off, and Steve takes a chunk and puts it in his mouth. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. A grown man. He literally put it in his mouth. He went, and I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me, dude? You just do that in front of 4 other dudes in the woods? You're not invited back."
Yeah, right.
You freaking clown. It was so funny. I was like, like you could have been more manly and just vomited, and it would have been better than what
Right.
you just
Projectile vomit.
Yeah.
Instead, you decided to fan your
Right.
mouth like you'd,
did.
Yeah.
It's a tradition. You hack a piece off every year.
See, that's
Right.
why, like, if I kill an elk this year, I think I want to, just because of how much I've watched, like, meat eater cooking shows and things like that. I'm like, yeah, everyone's like, oh, the heart is so good, the tongue is so good, like you can make this with the
the tongue
liver,
is
and I'm
amazing.
like, all right, I want to get those pieces and take them out.
Awesome.
I have such a mental hang up with the tongue thing. I don't know why.
Have you done the heart? The tongue it's nasty looking, right? You got to skin it like a catfish or whatever. But
Right.
the heart. The first time I opened up a heart, I was like, well, that is nasty. Like
Yeah.
if my wife saw what I had to do to get that heart prepped to make heart
To cook,
tacos, she
right.
would not have eaten it.
Oh, no.
Like all the ventricles. And
Yeah, you got to
tubes
take
and
all the
crap inside.
hard, the hard
Yeah.
stuff off the
But
outside,
it
but
was
the meat in there is
delicious.
super tender.
Man, it was good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I got one little thing with all that stuff. It's hard for me to wrap my brain around that. Yeah. Yeah.
I think if you cook it right, you'll never know.
Yeah, if you didn't tell me, I'd probably be like, "Oh,
But
that's
see,
amazing."
I love
Yeah.
cooking, so I think that part really like using as
Yeah.
much of the animal as I can really intrigues me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would probably make me feel a lot better about
Yeah.
taking an animal, knowing that I use as much of it as I possibly
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, and I'm not big on liver. Not that I won't eat it. If I have to, I will, right? If it's the only thing I've got, I'll eat it. But I got a buddy that's way bigger on liver, so we'll pull it out. If he's going to eat it, I'll give him the liver. Some of the
Right.
folks from work like, liver, but I'm not a
Like
fan.
liver,
I'm not-
liver
I'm
and
not-
onions.
I'm
Yeah.
not a liver guy.
Hard
Never
pass.
have been. My dad is, but no. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I think we are probably at a point where it's a good time
You might be
to
out of memory.
wrap things
On
up
the
here. Yeah,
computer.
right. So, first and foremost, thank you for joining us today.
I'm
Yeah.
so humbled to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you very
it's
much.
been awesome and definitely high probability we can do it again.
I'm in.
Yeah, and
I'm
so
in.
we'll have more stories to tell, hopefully, or at least we can continue the conversation, and just so that everybody at home knows where they can find you. Obviously, Instagram and
Yep, Ivory Holsters on Instagram,
Ivory
Facebook.
Hol-
I have a TikTok as well. It's kind of like
Yeah, welcome. All right.
nice.
It's like I felt super 13-year-old girl.
Oh yes.
Signed up, but I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
listen to Gary
If you need
Vaynerchuk
some tips on that, my guys downstairs are
Yeah.
very adept.
We're
at
not
TikTok.
we're not
I'll
on
bet.
TikTok.
I'll
We
bet.
need to get an H3O TikTok.
I'm telling you. So
you got to think of some. I mean, you
'cause
got to
you
be
guys
super
listen to
creative, and
Gary
and
Vaynerchuk
we're
too,
not.
right?
Oh, yeah,
we're
for
not
sure.
dancing guys. So
Vaynerchuk says that the like TikTok and for whatever reason, LinkedIn are the biggest organic reach right now, and so without having to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Those things you can get. So sure enough, I'm like, all right, I'll try it. So I put a couple of videos on where like I'm forming using the vacuum press and
Right.
forming the holsters and stuff like that. And those things blew up.
Oh,
People
yeah.
just seem
Yeah,
to really
good.
like watching
I mean, they're only. I
educational
mean,
stuff,
if
so-
you do them 10, 15 seconds long, it's enough to get somebody's attention and go,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I like that."
Yeah. So find Ivory Holsters on TikTok
Yeah.
and Instagram and ivoryholsters.com and anywhere that you hopefully can find awesome, hunting gear and things like that. So we appreciate your time. It's always fun to sit down. It's awesome to be first one in studio. I know that we've got another one planned in studio soon, but you'll always be the first.
Cool, man.
Right.
I love it.
So thank you guys.
Sign the wall.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We appreciate it. Obviously, any comments, feedback, anything like that, please subscribe to our page down below. And until next time, may your aim be straight and your tags be filled. See you guys. Thanks again for joining us on today's H3O podcast. We also want to thank our guest Gabriel for sitting down and discussing all the exciting things happening with Ivory Holsters. We also hope that you enjoyed today's storytelling session and look forward to bringing you more stories in the future as we continue to bring you the best information from industry leaders in the field. Please like and subscribe to our page. We hope that you'll leave your comments in the comment section below as we value your opinion and hope to continue bringing you the best podcasts in the hunting industry. Until next time, may your aim be straight and may your tags be filled. Thanks for joining us.